Welcome to episode 11 of the Book Blab. My name is Amy Johnson, and I'm here with my co-host, Suzanne Tanner, and we're here to talk about all things books and reading. And in case some of you were a little concerned about us, we took a little break while Suzanne had her baby. Yay! And so we're just now getting back into it after a little break, and then I will have a baby, and so then we might take another little break. But don't worry, we didn't leave permanently, just for a little bit. So Suzanne, first of all, I think we need to hear just a little bit about baby Lily. How is she doing, and how are you doing with the transition to 3 kids?
So we're doing great, mostly because I'm not pregnant anymore. Which is amazing. So every time it gets hard, I just remember, oh wait, but I'm not pregnant anymore, so I can handle 3 kids, right?
That's great.
And she's doing great, and I'm feeling good. So yeah, we are just happy to have our little girl.
That's awesome. I know. I think that's maybe the only good thing about having a bad pregnancy is that you actually are happy when you're not getting any sleep.
I know. Baby, it doesn't matter. I'm not pregnant.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm so happy for you. So, and she must be sleeping now. Is that?
I think cross my fingers, but
okay. All right.
Can't hear her, so.
Well, we'll see if she makes an appearance or not. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about, so, we love to talk about holiday books or seasonal reading, books that go along with whatever month or season it is. And so with it being February, of course, the natural place to go is romances. And which sounds so funny to me that we would be talking about romances, because I think neither you or I actually read the traditional romance genre, which would be, a little bit risque and kind of your dime store novel kind of a thing that you would just pick up at the airport.
Like a scantily clad cover.
Yes, exactly. So, yes, we won't be delving into that aspect of romance novel. We're talking about more sophisticated romances and romances that actually take place as part of a bigger story, take place in a bigger story.
Because romance shows up in every genre and every type of book. It's all over the place. And
exactly.
Some of my favorite romances are in not romance books.
Me too. And I think we're both going to be kind of touching on that a little bit today. So one of the main romance genres, though, is the Regency romance from the Regency era. So, Suzanne, why don't you get us started by talking about some of your favorite love stories that happen within classic literature?
Right. So we have to start off with Jane Austen, right?
Of course.
Is the grandmother, the queen, the originator of the perfect romance novel. Right. So Jane Austen, she's not just the inventor of the novel, she's the inventor of the great romantic story, pretty much. So yeah, I would love to let's just talk quickly about our favorite Austen novels.
Okay. Sounds good.
Because I love them all. But my personal favorite is Persuasion, which is not one of her most popular. I read all of her books in high school, and I loved Persuasion because I thought that was going to be me. I don't know why, but I just imagined that I was going to be the old maid. She's only what, like 27 or 28, but she's the old maid 20. And unmarried. And I just thought that was going to be my future. I got married at 21, so it wasn't. But I related with that, being the plain sister or whatever, being the one who didn't get, who had to, anyway, and I really loved her, and I loved their sweet romance, and I thought it was so cute, and anyway, so yeah, Persuasion has been my favorite ever since then.
Yes, I love Persuasion too, and I have not actually read all of Austen's novels, but I read quite a few of them. And I do like Persuasion. I think for me, and I know a lot of people actually, a lot of readers actually, I think, love Persuasion the most. At least that's what it kind of seems like to me.
Does it feel like that?
So
I feel like it's a novel that doesn't get talked about much.
Maybe, I don't know. I know a lot of people who love Persuasion, and I do too. I think for me, it was a little bit slower. I felt like I wanted more action between the two. And you're just kind of waiting for it, the whole novel, which it eventually, you know, there's a payoff, yes, at the end. But I think because of that reason, I actually love Sense and Sensibility the most. Because
and there's nothing to hate there.
No, of course not. But I just think that one has a lot more drama between the characters. You know, there's Marianne just keeps having bad luck, and then with her various romances, and Eleanor is just, I think, maybe my favorite Jane Austen character of all times. Like,
are you a Marianne or an Eleanor?
I'm more Marianne, unfortunately, but I wish I was more Eleanor. Well, I think, I don't know, maybe it's just because I idolize Eleanor so much that I feel like there's no way I could be her. So, because you're right, I'm not really flighty like Marianne or a romantic. So maybe I am more like Eleanor, which would be awesome.
I would think
that would be great. Okay. Well, I'm totally flattered for the day. I've been compared to Eleanor. So, but yeah, so I probably like that one the most, out of the ones I've read. So, and I've read the big ones, like that one, and Pride and Prejudice, and Persuasion, and Emma. It's some of, like, Mansfield Park I haven't read. Northanger Abbey I haven't
Mansfield
read.
Park is not my favorite. And Northanger Abbey is fun, only if you understand Gothic.
Yeah.
Novels.
Right.
It's a little bit weird, but it's fun.
Yeah. Cool. Well, so one thing I was actually going to ask you, since we know that you all just got your master's in English, and this has been one of my burning questions about Regency novels, is what actually can be classified as a Regency novel? Because I hear various things, and some of the time periods that I hear are actually really short, like from 1811 to 1820, like less than 10 years. And so books that I actually traditionally might put in the Regency category wouldn't actually be able to go there if I'm restricting myself to that little time frame.
No, and I think there are various definitions of what is actually Regency, but I think it's like the basically the time period when the Empire waist dress was in is pretty much it. Is kind of how I think of it. That Empire waist is the Regency period. So it is kind of narrow, like 10, 20 years.
I know.
Maybe.
So, because one of my favorites is Jane Eyre. So could you not put Jane Eyre in that category anymore? Is it too late?
I don't think. I mean,
because it was published in 1847. I know I'm getting really technical here, but I've always been curious about this.
All right. I mean, others may have their own opinions, but I wouldn't call Jane Eyre a Regency. That would be. I mean, it's all class. I'd call it classic. It's a classic,
right?
Literature, classic love story. Well, yeah, I guess it is a love story.
It is a love story for sure. There's some good conversations at the end of that book. Well, even in the middle, that are pretty.
It's true. It's
pretty
true.
Romantic, actually.
Yeah, that romance I love, and I am also extremely uncomfortable with it. But that's true of all the Bronte sister romances.
Yeah,
I'm like,
true.
Oh, this is almost. It's a little bit creepy. But it's good.
Oh, I love that one. I think I'll always love it. So
yeah, it is good.
Good. But did you want to talk about any other Regency novels then while we're on this, or?
So, well, while we're on the topic of Regency, so there is like the Jane Austen era, like actually written in the Regency novels, and then there are the Regency romances that are contemporary, but
set during that time period.
Those are lots of fun too.
They are.
Nobody has ever quite reached Jane Austen's level, but I still love a good, fun Regency flick. So let's talk about some of our favorite of that category.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and this one's interesting because I feel like so many are set during that time period, but they do have so much more interaction between the two main characters than Jane Austen does. And I'm sure that's because they're written right now, or and that's what the public wants. we want that interaction between the two love interests. But I know that you probably were going to mention her, but Julianne Donaldson is one of my favorite authors for Regency romances. And hers are just full of really fun dialogue and witty banter between the characters. And, you know, they're a little bit unbelievable or predictable, but they're just
kind of a bit fun. Fluffy.
Yes, I know, so not a lot of substance, but yes, very fun, easy to get sucked into. So
yeah,
so
those are my favorites. And then my other favorite author, which I think you've read too, is Georgette Heyer, who she was actually writing what, like 50 years ago or more?
Yeah, even longer, I think now. Yeah, it's probably more like 60. Yeah, but a while ago, and she wrote a lot. This was
and I've only read a couple, but I need to read more. Her writing is so, and what I love about him too is that it's not like it ends with a romance, but in between there's just so much funny stuff. And her writing is so witty. I mean, like laugh out loud hilarious, and her characters are outrageous.
Yep.
And so much fun. So my favorite Georgette Heyer right now is The Grand Sophie.
And that's the only one I've read of hers, and I did like it a lot. So, and I've been meaning to read more because I did like that one so much, but it just hasn't happened yet. So,
well, me too. I need to read more of her too. She's a favorite. So, okay. Do you want to talk quickly about not Regency time period, but just other classic, any classic novels that have favorite romances?
Well, I mean, we already talked about Jane Eyre, which I like. And I don't know. I was even thinking like, you know, Gone with the Wind is it's kind of a classic story, but has some real romantic tension in it. And
Brett Butler.
So, so, and one of my favorites too, it wasn't written in the 1800s, but Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, I think is,
that's definitely a classic.
It's like a gothic suspense novel, but there is romance in it too.
It is. There is.
So anyway, what about you? Do you have any others in that that are just more classic?
Yeah, I would have to say, so going back to the 19th century, I'd have to say Elizabeth Gaskell. I love her stuff. Wives and Daughters and North and South, they're just so fun. Yep. And then I'm even going to throw Charles Dickens in there because, he's not a romance writer, but all of his books have romance flavor in them, and some of them are really well done. I'd say A Tale of Two Cities has a really, I love A Tale of Two Cities a lot. So I love the romance in that one. And then actually, Dombey and Son is not one that's read a lot, but it had so I'm harkening back to high school. I read this in high school, and I just remember it had this really sweet love scene that I just melted over. And so it's been a while. I don't remember details, but anyway, I think Dickens deserves.
You know what? I almost mentioned Dickens also because even though, you don't think of him the same as Jane Austen at all, where the focus is kind of the relationship.
Right.
But marriages play a big part in his in his books, and I feel like he kind of shows good marriages and not so good marriages, and marriages that are respectful and ones where they're kind of rude to each other, and
he has flawed relationships that turn into and then where the character Nicholas Nickleby, or no, that's not it.
Was it David Copperfield? David Copperfield. Yeah,
where he's in love with not the right person for him and then realizes who the right person is. Yeah, and I love that. Anyway.
Yep, I do too. And going along those same lines, so Middlemarch by George Eliot. I read that a couple of years ago. And that one's like a study on marriage almost, you know?
It's not your typical like swooning over the hero romance. And so more than half the book is her married to the wrong person.
Right.
Everyone married to the wrong person. But then at the end, there's like this surprisingly super romantic scene. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I know. So that was a good one too. I mean, classic literature. It has some of the best scenes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then I feel like, so let's jump to contemporary literature.
Okay.
Contemporary. So I feel like I just am not satisfied by a lot of romance in contemporary literature. And so we'll just talk about it. So when it comes to like contemporary actual romance, like say like Nicholas Sparks or other popular stuff like that, I don't know. I can handle fluff if it's Regency, but too much fluff, like contemporary fluff, and I'm just sort of like, ugh. And then like contemporary literary books tend to be just so negative. Like the relationships are all bad. They're all bad. There's nothing good. It's all horrible people having horrible relationships and life is terrible.
I agree.
Anyways.
I was going to say both of those things actually. Either there's no substance and it's just totally fluffy and predictable, or the opposite is just that, everyone is having affairs and in these abusive relationships, and it's just not very happy. So were you able to think up any contemporary romances that you liked?
So I mean, not maybe kind of sort of contemporary literary, but still like 50 years ago or however long. But Crossing to Safety.
I actually, that's on my list.
Happy relationships.
I know. And
not relationships, but happy ones, right?
Exactly. Anyway. Yeah, good marriages overall that have their problems.
But it's happy in the end. You're like, okay. Anyway.
Yep.
Not that love stories have to be happy, but I mean, because the first love story of all is Romeo and Juliet, right? But
right. I know, but I kind of like a happy ending. I know. Okay, well, so one of my favorites, I mean, I actually don't have that many either, but when we talked about contemporary romance, the first one that comes to mind is What Alice Forgot by Leanne Moriarty. Have you read that one?
I haven't read that one.
Okay, I think you should give that one a try.
Others, but not that one. Okay.
This one it's different than her others. I mean, it's different. I mean, it feels more like chick lit, but chick lit that you can actually think about and talk about. So it's really good. I actually loved it. I would like to reread it because it's good. So
I'll add that to the to-read list.
Yeah. So that one is good. And then I was actually thinking of A Man Called Uva. I think that has one of the tenderest love stories ever. Yeah.
So sweet.
Uva and his wife, I mean, they are just adorable together, and just how broken he is after she passes away and how he just wants to get back to her. So that one's good. But then again, I don't think you would never classify that as a contemporary romance, you know?
No.
Like it has romance in it, but that's not the main focus. So you wouldn't do that. And then there's another one I've read called Dancing on Broken Glass. Have you read this one? Okay, I'm trying to remember. I should have written down the author. I think it's Kay Hancock maybe, but I'll put it in the show notes with this episode. But that one is about the husband has bipolar disorder, and then the wife has breast cancer. And so they have this very just explosive marriage. I mean, just where things are always going wrong. Not so much that they are having marital conflict, but they are just having to deal with so much all the time. but it's a beautiful love story, and I cried a lot at the end of that one. So yeah. But I was like thinking of other books that I've read that would be considered romances, like Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, or some Sarah Addison Allen, and I just haven't liked them. Yeah. They just haven't done it for me.
I know.
So
or I think I can think of books where the romance starts off sweet. Like I was thinking of oh goodness, and I remember the title. Ocean, something ocean.
Oh, The Light Between Oceans?
Yes, thank you. Anyway, where the romance started off really sweet, and then like the book goes crazy places. Not crazy places, just like super
kind of.
places. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, and I'm just like, oh.
It's true. Yeah.
Anyway, hard.
I know. So anyone who's watching, if you have good ideas for contemporary romances that kind of fit what Suzanne and I are looking for, please go ahead and comment and share them with us.
It doesn't have to be happy, but
no, but it has there has to be some redemption to the relationship, I think.
Something sweet about it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, okay, moving on.
Okay, so let's talk about a genre where the romances are almost always satisfying to me. Well, not always. But I know you don't read a ton of fantasy, but you have to admit that fantasy has some pretty good romances.
I would have to admit that. And that they do usually turn out the way you want them to. Because they're like fairy tale retellings. So of course, like happily ever after. Mm-hmm. That's the
and so definitely, like you bring that up. My absolute favorite romances of all times are generally fairy tale retellings, and often YA, young adult fairy tale retellings. Ella Enchanted. Ooh, I love that book so much.
Oh my goodness, I read Ella Enchanted, and I do not even remember a romance in it. So
wait, what?
I mean, it's been like 8 years, but when you said that,
you didn't read it as a teenager?
No. So that was probably my mistake.
Well, that might be coloring my experience, because I'm sure I first read it as a 14-year-old girl, and I was just like, oh my goodness, it's adorable. I reread it every year of high school.
Yeah, I definitely. I should reread that one for sure.
Right. So Ella Enchanted, and then recently I've also really enjoyed the Lunar Chronicles. Mm-hmm. I think those are really fun fairy tale retellings with good, sweet romances. Mm-hmm. And there are tons more. I could bring up so many more like fantasy romance related books. As long as they don't have a love triangle.
Yeah. Right.
I hate love triangles. Mm-hmm. I cannot stand love. It's fine. It's fine if your book has a love triangle. It's just not my favorite. Everyone seems to have love triangles. Ugh.
That's true. That's kind of a new thing, or not new, but yes, everyone likes to do it now.
In the category of, well, I know you don't read fantasy, so we can segue into YA. YA, if you want. Do you have any favorites?
YA is hard for me too, because I feel like I always go back to older stories, because the new ones just aren't satisfying for me. Contemporary YA romances just seem to be so full of angst and drama and unfaithfulness, even with teenagers. And so
that's contemporary literature's thing.
Yeah.
Dysfunctional relationships. Huh?
It's true. But with old books, I don't know. Did you ever read the Betsy Tacy series as a teenager?
No, I didn't. I didn't ever read them.
So Betsy Tacy, I mean, I think a lot of people think of it as children's literature, because when the series starts, Betsy is, I think, 5 years old. So just little.
Yeah.
But when you get up to about book 6, then she's in high school and eventually adulthood, and then she gets married. And it's actually a very, very sweet romance. So I read it as a teenager and just thought it was the cutest, sweetest thing. So I don't know. You should. It's hard to say. Like,
I
don't know if you have to read it from the beginning of the series. I don't think so. Like, if you just wanted to dive into book 6, where it starts to pick up, but they're just cute books. They're cute books overall. So I love those books. Fun. So.
And then on the note of classic YA literature with good romances, I mean, we have to bring up Anne of Green Gables, right?
Of course.
Because Gilbert Blythe, hello. That is everything about that romance is perfect.
It is. It's so true. So a couple years ago, I read then the Emily trilogy, which is also by Lucy Maud Montgomery. But and I liked it, but it did not satisfy me the way Anne did. And I realized it was because Teddy, who is Emily's love interest, is no match to Gilbert at all. And so the book is just ruined at the beginning because you have Teddy instead of Gilbert. Gilbert's just perfect.
I know it.
I love Gilbert. So
I know. Gilbert is the best. Cannot top Gilbert Blythe.
Right.
Okay. We are running short on time, but we have to quickly talk about our favorite nonfiction dealing with romance really fast. So quickly, favorite nonfiction dealing with romance. This could be anything. Like,
I know, and this was actually harder for me than I thought it was going to be. I was like, really? Do I not read any books on relationships? I don't know. They're like all parenting books. But then I thought, Gretchen Rubin actually talks a lot about relationships in her books. And, a lot of her goals center around how to improve her marriage. And so that's who I thought of. I love that one. And then as far as just another true story, I thought that When Breath Becomes Air.
Yes.
Their story is beautiful because, when he gets cancer, when he's diagnosed with cancer, his marriage is kind of on the brink, like a little bit.
Yeah, a really rough place.
And and it really brings them together. And I mean, when he passes away, it just ends so beautifully with his wife.
Her addition and oh my goodness.
Her epilogue, yeah. So those are the two I thought of. What about you?
So I actually do read, I guess, a fair amount of relationship how-to literature, whatever you would call it. And so I just want to quickly mention anything by Dr. John Gottman is gold. If you haven't read any of that. And then I personally love the 5 love languages. Anyway, so those, I'll bring up those two. But my favorite nonfiction romance stuff is sort of what you brought up with When Breath Becomes Air, like memoir-ish type, real true stories of real people who have awesome relationships. And so my favorite that I have to bring up is called A Severe Mercy. Have you read this one?
No.
I think you should read it.
Okay. Wait, did you just barely read it? No.
No.
This is an old one. Okay.
Years ago. Yeah, A Severe Mercy. It's by Sheldon I don't know how to say his last name, Vanaken or something like that. Anyway, he and his wife have a very different type of relationship. And on reflection, it's not necessarily even one. They might even be too close. But the book, A Severe Mercy, covers their meeting and they're falling in love and the early part of their marriage, and then they both convert to Christianity and they end up becoming friends with C.S. Lewis, and they have with C.S. Lewis. So that part of the book is awesome. It's really fun. And then at the end, it's called A Severe Mercy for a reason. There's sadness at the end. I won't spoil it, but it is like it made me think about my relationship in very different ways, and just like. Yeah, like I said, I don't necessarily want their relationship, but I loved reading about it and I loved his reflections on it. And anyway, highly recommend.
Okay.
Beautiful real life.
Convinced me. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, so are we ready to get into our book recommendations?
Let's do it.
Month? Okay. So even though it's February, since we've missed a couple of months of filming these book blabs, we decided to just share our favorite read of 2016. And this was a little bit challenging, of course. I don't usually ever have one that sticks out.
I know, choosing one favorite.
I know. Hard. And just to clarify, so this is going to be, it can be written at any time, or published at any time.
2016,
yeah, not published in 2016.
That we read last year.
Right. Okay, so Suzanne, were you able to narrow it down?
Okay, so I actually reread a few favorites last year that, like, I'm like, these are my ultimate. Like, I reread Anne of Green Gables, and I reread Harry Potter #1, and you know, like, so if we're talking like favorites, it's probably one of the rereads. But I decided that's not fair. So I am going with, you know, like, favorite new book that I read, you know, not published in 2016, but favorite book that was new to me that I read, and I have to go with A Man Called Ove because.
Yeah, it was good.
It was probably, I mean, I read some really good ones, but as far as a general recommend, as far as like, I recommend this book generally. It's got to be A Man Called Ove.
It's true.
Yep. And we've talked about that one before, so we'll go into it. But Amy, what's your
I know
top
mine
2016 read?
Mine was hard too. And I thought about, you know, a couple of the ones I've already mentioned, Crossing to Safety and When Breath Becomes Air. Those I definitely, they were definitely the top of my list. But I had to go with one. So, you know, I think people lots of times by the time they get to the last week in December, they feel like they could share their favorites at that point because, you know, the year is wrapping up and they're probably not going to find some great gem at the end of the year. But for me, one of my favorite books from 2016, I finished it on New Year's Eve. So that just goes to show you just never know when your favorites are going to come. And it's called A Time to Dance by Padma Venkatrama, which is, you'll have to look up the spelling of that name. It's a good one. And this actually fits well with our theme for the for this episode also because it has a cute little romance in it, but it's probably, I would classify it as YA, but it's a verse novel, and the main character lives in India and she's a dancer. She loves dance, and then she's in this tragic bus accident where her leg has to be amputated, and so it's kind of this journey just of finding herself and becoming more selfless and also learning to dance again, but in a new way. And yeah, there's just a cute little love story that goes with it too. So that one was beautiful. And I have been recommending it to everyone because it was really good and kind of surprising too. I wasn't expecting to love it that much. So.
Okay, that's going on the to read list.
Yep, it should. So, and then finally, do we want to talk about our upcoming mini book club?
Yes. So this is something we did last year, and I think we did it in May. We'll probably end up doing it in April or May again this year. We'll see. We'll announce when we get closer. But we did a mini book club where I chose a book for Amy to read that we read together, kind of, and then discussed it, and it was lots of fun. And we are announcing it early, so if any of our readers want to read it first before they watch the episode, so spoilers aren't an issue.
Exactly.
Anyway, so this year it's Amy's turn to choose a book for me.
Yes. And I gave Suzanne a few choices, and now I'm like doubting myself on the now I'm doubting myself on the title, so I'm quickly looking it up. Because I've read a book that's very similar, has a very similar title, so I don't want to give the wrong one for people who are, I should have written it down. I didn't think. Okay, so this is it. So I thought it would be fun to read a children's novel for this upcoming book club because Suzanne has admitted on the show that she likes children's literature, but has a hard time giving it her highest rating because it is written for children. And so I don't know that this will help, but I thought if we had a discussion about it, you know, that can actually sometimes elevate a book a little bit because you can point out all the good things about it. So we are going with this year's 2017 Newbery Medal winner, which was The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill.
And I have heard lots of really good things about it.
I have too. And I think this is going to kind of be good for me too, because I think it's a little bit fantasy-ish from what I've read.
Fantasy elements or something. So anyway, I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
So for anyone who wants to join us, go ahead and get that checked out from the library. And it definitely won't be our next episode, but maybe the one following. We'll have to see how things go with
you and your baby.
And babies, yes, exactly. But soon. So this has been a great episode. And we did go a little bit over time, but I think, when we've missed a couple of months, it makes sense that we'd have to talk for a little bit longer.
It's too much fun. Chatting about books. But we want to thank everyone for watching. And we will try to be back next month with another fun episode on some great bookish topics. So we'll see you then.
All right. See ya.